Remember when our phones were attached to the wall and the only thing smart about them was how fast we could dial a number without looking? Welcome back to a world before apps, before endless scrolling, before we carried the internet in our pockets. This was life before smartphones, and in many ways, it was a different universe. Back then, communication was an event. If you wanted to talk to someone, you called their home phone. And if they weren't there, you didn't panic. You just left a message on the answering machine or tried again later. There was no read receipt, no pressure to reply instantly. Patience wasn't just a virtue, it was part of daily life. And if you were out and about, you might duck into a phone booth, feed in a quarter, and hope the line wasn't busy. There was a certain magic to hearing someone's voice for the first time that day, because it wasn't always available at your fingertips. Getting around was another adventure. There was no voice calmly telling you, "Turn left in 500 feet." Instead, we unfolded giant paper maps that never quite folded back the right way. Road trips required real planning, writing down directions, asking locals for advice, and sometimes getting gloriously, hilariously lost. And when you finally reached your destination, there was no need to check in anywhere. You were just there, fully in the moment. Entertainment looked different, too. Evenings weren't spent glued to screens. We gathered around the television for our favorite shows, but there were only a handful of channels, so everyone watched the same things. Families played board games, friends met at the diner, and kids spent hours outside inventing games with nothing but their imagination. Social media wasn't a feed, it was real conversations, laughter, and shared experiences. When someone told you a story, it wasn't a status update. It was a memory in the making. And then there were the photos. Every click of the camera counted because film rolls were limited. 24 or maybe 36 shots if you splurged. You didn't know if the photo turned out until days later when you picked up the prints. There was excitement in that anticipation, flipping through a fresh stack of photos and reliving the moments. Albums filled with these prints became treasured keepsakes, physical reminders of the times and people we loved. Without smartphones, life moved slower, and that wasn't a bad thing. There was more space to breathe, to think, to simply be. You might spend an afternoon reading on the porch or chatting with a neighbor across the fence. Conversations were uninterrupted. Meals were shared without distraction, and if someone couldn't reach you, they assumed you were busy, not ignoring them. Of course, modern life has its perks. Smartphones connect us instantly, give us answers in seconds, and let us capture every fleeting moment. But in all this convenience, we've lost some of that quiet joy, the art of waiting, and the thrill of the unexpected. There's something to be said for the days when you weren't reachable every second, when plans were set in stone and not endlessly renegotiated over text. So, was life better before smartphones? Maybe, maybe not. What's certain is that it was different. We were more present, more patient, and perhaps a little more connected to the world right in front of us. Maybe it's not about turning back the clock, but about remembering that we can still choose to put our phones down, look around, and live in the moment. So, what about you? Do you miss life before smartphones? Or do you love the convenience of today's tech? Share your favorite pre-smartphone memory in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of the past.